to the tissue. In the process, it exposes nerve endings and just sets them on.
Get my change. And won't you give my homeboy his change?
I don't want any trouble. Just get out.
I can't stand y'all.
I feel sorry for your mother.
What you say about my mama? You feel sorry for who?
I don't want any trouble. Just get out.
The fuck you say about my mama?
I don't want any trouble. Just get out.
You talking shit. Every time I come in this motherfucker, you got something to say.
Home run.
Hey, where the motherfucking videotape? Give me the motherfucking video. Stop, give me the motherfucking videotape right now. Hey, nigga, hey, clean the cash register. Come on. Shut up. Hey, shut the fuck up with that noise. Hey, you gotta shut the fuck. I ain't playing. Hey, where the motherfucking tape at?
The fuck did you do, man?
This motherfucker right now. I said eject it. Bitch, if you don't eject, I'ma smoke your pumpkin. Hey, bitch, do it right now. Bitch, I called your stupid ass. Shut the fuck up.
Nigga, hurry up!
Hell no.
Come on, man, let's race up, man. Damn! I can't believe this.
Move. Nigga, I thought I told you to open the damn register.
Damn,
Damn,
man,
nigga.
let's
Let
go.
me open this shit. What the? $6 motherfucking dollars, nigga. I know y'all got some money in this motherfucker somewhere.
This don't even make no damn sense, man. Let's just go,
Bitch, ain't you?
man.
Goddamn radio killer.
Dog.
I want you to keep your shit too. Jackpot. Hell yeah. Gang of this money, nigga. Shit. See, you ain't gonna talk shit now, are you? Where the other money at, man? Fuck that. Fuck that. Go!
Went to the store just to get a beer. Came out an accessory to murder and armed robbery. It was funny like that in the hood sometimes. You never knew what was gonna happen or when. After that, I knew it was gonna be a long summer.
At least 1,000 persons rioted in the
off the field. Why Clinton Portis may be leaving the Rockies for Capitol Hill. The St. Joe's Hawks are soaring toward perfection. Why Jameer Nelson will get them there. Out of the race, Howard Dean finds work, calling out bubble teams.
Oklahoma! Michigan!
How Mike Weir has become hotter than Tiger and VJ. Where does he rank in our top 10 underappreciated athletes? You'll appreciate this edition of SportsCenter.
Good evening, it's SportsCenter. Chris McHenry alongside Mike Greenberg tonight. Well, George Steinbrenner feels picked on and he's taken his case to the commissioner, but we begin with Barry Bonds taking his case to the public.
Yes, for the first time since his personal trainer was indicted as part of the Balco investigation, baseball's biggest star is speaking out about steroids. In Arizona today, Barry Bonds sat down with our Pedro Gomez.
Barry, how do you feel about your name being attached to all the coverage this winter of the Balco story?
There's nothing I can do about it right now. I'm just going to go out there and play baseball, and hopefully this all blow over. You know, guys, I don't think we're really going to have to talk about it much when all the testing comes out, and it's going to come out, and you'll be able to see it, and there won't be any questions after that point. I don't believe so.
How much testing do you welcome in baseball?
They test me every day if they choose to.
I mean, for the game.
I think it's fine. I don't see anything wrong with that at all.
Can you give us your reaction to Greg Anderson being indicted?
It's just, I feel bad for him. I feel sad. We grew up together, we're friends, and, you know, it's unfortunate what he's having to go through.
Can you describe the vitamins, whatever, the diet that Greg Anderson did supply to you?
No, we can't answer those questions at all. That's a legal issue.
Do you think it's possible that you may have, without your knowledge, ever been given an illegal steroid or a human growth hormone?
One, that is still a legal question, and it's something that I won't answer. And it's also, no, for one, and two, I don't think it's something that we need to be discussing at this time.
Why do you think nobody reached 50 home runs last year? First time since 1994.
I don't know. Probably the balls are softer. So the one thing is we know changes in baseball that you guys don't know. And, you know, I'm not a scientist, I'm not dumb though, but baseballs were a little bit softer last year than they have been in the past.
Did you cut one open?
Yeah, definitely.
Did you compare it to,
I
say,
compared
2-3 years
to,
before?
Like 2-3 years ago, yeah, definitely.
And what difference did you find?
They just strung them a little bit different. That's just all. That would be another controversial issue coming up, but
It's just,
truth is truth.
Do you think you've fallen into a place where you're guilty until proven innocent instead of the opposite?
I believe if I wasn't going for these records, it would be a nullified situation right now. But because, you know, of the records, because of what I'm accomplishing in my career, it's just more magnified right now. And you know, I'm man enough to deal with that. I can stand up to that. You know, like I tell everybody, you want to be on top, you have to have broad shoulders to be on top. I'm gonna tell you that right now, because as fast as you get there, as fast they try to knock you down. And so I have broad shoulders. I can deal with it. I know who I am. I know what I stand for, and I know what type of ball player I am. And I'll prove that on the field.
That was Pedro Gomez with Barry Bonds. Another baseball slugger at the eye of the Balco Hurricane is the Yankees' Jason Giambi, who also testified before the grand jury during this offseason. Last week, the Yankees informed Giambi that his personal trainer, who has no connection to the Balco investigation, would not be allowed in the clubhouse this season because of overcrowding. Giambi addressed the steroid issue today as well with our Tim Kirkchin.
Balco, what was it like testifying?
I just went in and told them what I knew. That's it. Bottom line, you know, walked in and told them what I knew and I left.
You have not done steroids, is that correct?
Yeah, I haven't, you know, done anything. I've worked my butt off. You know, that's the thing is that I know everybody see me, you know, especially from the reporters, everybody else. I get in the weight room, I work my butt off, and, you know, go from there now.
The connection, however, that people will make since you've testified, people will automatically connect you to. How much does that bother you?
Yeah, it doesn't. You know, I mean, I can't control that. You know, I just went in and did what I, you know, did, and, you know, work my butt off, and I can't help what other people are going to assume.
And joining us now live, a columnist from the San Jose Mercury News, it's Skip Bayless. Skip, Bonds and Giambi finally addressed the rumors. What did you think?
Mike, I was amused by Barry Bonds' contention that last year the balls were softer, which led to only 47 home runs leading the league. No, Barry, the testing was harder. For the first time in his life last year, Barry Bonds got tested. He came to camp last year about 15 pounds noticeably lighter, as did most of the premier sluggers. They got tested, and the best, most positive development I've had in my baseball lifetime, Mike, is that more than 5% of them failed that test, which brought back testing 2 more times this year. If you lose this year, if you get busted a second time, you get publicized. You have to wear the scarlet S. Now we have the George Bush administration, for whatever motivation in an election year, jumping on the bandwagon. Now the steroids are getting scared out of these guys, and I'm happy for this, because it wasn't the softer ball last year, Barry Bonds. It was the harder testing. I think it's really cleaning up baseball's act.
So your sense is the testing is working, while so many have been critical of it for saying that there are not a lot of teeth to the policy, but you think that numbers were down last year, in part at least because of the steroid testing.
Mike, the explosion in lean muscle mass came in 2000 and 2001. I think the public suspicion has been delayed. I think that's when the public and the media should have been leaping on this issue, when Barry Bonds was going from 49 home runs to 73 home runs in 2001. But now the tests have kicked in, and frankly, I think the players are happy and relieved about this, Mike. It's saving them from themselves. Now the feds are involved. Now Ashcroft is holding a press conference in Washington to say, by God, we're going to clean this up. I think it is really having a chilling effect, melting the pounds, the artificial pounds off these guys as they report to spring training this year. I think we're headed in very much a positive direction.
Skip, what is your sense of the public perception of this, both of the denials today and of their perception of the testing policy in general?
I think that there's a huge asterisk hanging over everything that Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa and before them Mark McGwire have done. There is a mountain of circumstantial evidence against Barry Bonds. There is guilt by association. To this moment, I have no actual proof that Barry Bonds used any performance-enhancing drugs, but I think anybody in their right mind, it doesn't take Sherlock Holmes to put 2 + 2 together to equal some sort of steroid or HGH use going back to 2000, 2001.
All right, Skip Bayless, San Jose Mercury News. Thanks for the time tonight.
Thank you, Mike.
Well, summarizing this story, federal prosecutors do allege that Bonds' trainer Greg Anderson and 3 others associated with Balco supplied dozens of athletes with banned substances. Prosecutors have not publicly named or charged any athletes, but the already suspicious public has. In Voices of SportsCenter, Dan Lebitard argues at this point in the investigation, those convictions are the greatest injustice.
As pitchers and catchers report, it's all about the poetry and pageantry of spring and sunshine and who is injecting themselves with cheating substances that will shrink testicles. Allow me to turn down the volume on some of this steroid hysteria, though, to shrink it, if you will. First of all, it isn't right what's happening with Barry Bonds, the way he's being smeared without proof, the way he's guilty by association. His trainer was indicted. That doesn't mean he should be. And here's something to inject into your logic stream. I understand the way Bonds and Sammy Sosa went from stick figures to linebackers leads reasonable people to ask reasonable questions. But why don't we ever ask them about, say, Michael Jordan? His body changed a substantive amount as he aged too, didn't it? And basketball's testing for steroids isn't any better than baseball's. I'm not saying Jordan is guilty of anything. I'm just saying...
On news as Barry Bonds and Jason Giambi reported to spring training. Bonds met the media and offered to be tested for juice every day to prove his innocence, while Jason Giambi told Tim Kirchin that he lost only 4 pounds since October. But check out the headlines here in the New York papers. Giambi's slender new physique is raising some eyebrows. Guys, what's your reaction to what you saw, heard, and read from Bonds and Giambi around the horn to Michael Smith?
Okay, my reaction is I'm tired of the speculation. I'm tired of the naked eye judgment and looking at head size and weight gain, all that type of stuff. We got what Mariotti wanted. Mariotti said Barry Bonds has got to stand up, answer my questions. Am I quoting you right, Jay? Yep. Now it's time for testing. He offered, we got to take him up on it. He said, look, you can test me every day. Okay, let's do it. I know that's not in the new CBA or whatever, but we've got to test these guys. We need positive tests. Otherwise, it's going to go around and around in circles. Start testing them just like they said we could.
Well, here's what I think here. I mean, John Ashcraft has laid down the indictments. Now I want names, guys. Baseball has made its own bed with this terrible steroids policy through the years. Now that we're cracking down, getting to the bottom of things, I want names. I mean, Greg Anderson, the personal trainer for Bonds, says he has given steroids to professional baseball players. Who are they? Dusty Baker here in Chicago is trying to distance himself. He says, this is McCarthyism. Stop it. What do you mean McCarthyism? We need to keep this game clean. Finally, we're getting to the bottom of it.
Look,
I
Jay,
think it's healthy for the game.
You will get the names because more than 5% tested positive last year. That's good because that advances the testing problem. But, you know, while the media has a tough job to do here, they're a little hysterical making these, you know, naked eye judgments. Jason Giambi looks smaller. Oh, he's got to be off the juice. This is a guy who last year was a DH. This year he has to play first base. He knows that. He had a bad knee last year, so he lost mostly body fat this offseason, and that's why he looks different.
You know what he did, Tim? He had to give up the great In-N-Out burgers. That's what he said he attributes a new body to. Giving up, I'll tell you what, I'd rather go on the juice and give up In-N-Out myself. However, we have to give these guys the benefit of the doubt. We owe it to them until someone tests positive. And all these guys are saying they'll go ahead and test. Barry Bonds is saying it. Gary Sheffield's saying it. I noticed Giambi didn't exactly volunteer to say it, but until someone tests positive and we have a name associated instead of this random anonymous 5% or the 9 to 11 guys that Barry Bonds' trainer said he apparently gave steroids to, you can't just go ahead and indict guys just based on their appearance.
Right, yeah, that's a good point, Mariotti. We need to keep probing here. It's very important the last 5 years. What has brought back the grand old game? Power hitting. It's all not very nebulous right now. What was real? What wasn't? Who was clean? What wasn't? Now we have Bonds on the doorstep of maybe the greatest record in individual sports, the great home run record of Henry Aaron. I need to know who's clean and who
wasn't. Yeah, you told us that already. Tim Calishow, it's you. Go ahead.
One of the real unnamed guilty parties in all of this is the Players Union. They're the ones that fought for years against any meaningful steroids testing, and this process they're in is very slow.
Well, Tim, the owners are compliant, though. They're the ones reaping the benefits because balls are flying out and increasing interest in the games again with all the home runs.
Last word, Michael Smith.
Those are very powerful words from Bonds. It's volunteering to be tested every day. Forget about the agreement. Forget about what the Players Union agreed to. They've got to do this. Clean this up right now.
He also said he wants it to blow over, and I don't think it's blowing over. Now with the back page headlines like we saw, people always looking at people and saying who looks skinnier, and not a player hit 50 home runs last year. Not one player in the league 2 years after 73. Makes you ask some questions. Let's move on. No team has been more active this NFL offseason than the Redskins, and out is Steve Spurrier, and in are Joe Gibbs and Mark Brunell. According to the Denver Post, Washington's about to say goodbye to Pro Bowl cornerback Champ Bailey and a second-round pick, and hello to Pro Bowl running back Clinton Portis, who says he should be the highest-paid running back in the NFL. ESPN's Len Pasquarelli adds that the Jets have chimed in with a last gasp offer for Bailey, which includes Pro Bowl defensive end Sean Ellis. So, fellas, upon closing the Clinton Portis deal, would the Redskins be NFC East favorites? Around the horn to Jay Mariotti.
Look, I like Joe Gibbs as much as anybody. He's been out of the game for more than a decade. They were a 5-11 team with the 25th ranked defense. They have no D-line. Wynn and Upshaw were big-time disappointments.
LeBron James is the hype buster, but if he can bust the Cavs into the playoffs, could he break MVP ground? The Horn!
You buy or sell? He recently became
continues live Sunday 10 p.m. on ESPN.
Buy or sell?
All right, buy or sell time. Let's see what we got. Leading off, it's good to be LeBron. He recently became a Sullivan Award nominee for Best Amateur Athlete, the spokes-chewer for Bubblicious, and his Cavs are a game and a half out of the Eastern Conference playoffs right now after a stirring comeback win over New Orleans last night. And check out his hype-busting stats: 20 points, 6 boards, and 6 assists per game. Guys, do you buy or sell LeBron James deserving MVP consideration? Nadande?
Oh, easy, Romeo. Let's not get carried away. You got to sell on this. As much as I love Bron, as great as he's been for the Cavaliers, they're still 23-34. It's hard for me to consider a guy leading a team that's 11 games under 500 for MVP consideration. He'll get there one day, but they're still learning how to learn. He's still learning how to learn.
All right, Kalisha?
You have to sell him on the MVP, but let's give him something better. Let's give him the Better Than the Hype Award. Who thought this guy could actually do that? Come in and be better than everything we heard about, and he's done it.
I like that. Okay, Mariotti?
Sal, Rookie of the Year. Yeah, I've been hard on him, and I think right now he's starting to pass Carmelo here. MVP, first of all, 23 wins, Eastern Conference. I mean, it's Garnett, it's Peja, it's Duncan, it's not LeBron. So.
Michael Smith.
Yeah, you got to sell. I mean, this guy, he's dealt with unbelievable pressure, as Kalisha so wonderfully pointed out. He's dealt with unbelievable expectations, a lot of trades going on around him, yet he's delivered, exceeded expectations, but come.
In Wednesday's edition of the Denver Post, Colorado Rockies reliever Turk Wendell said, quote, "If my personal trainer, me, Turk Wendell, got indicted for that, there's no one in the world who wouldn't think that I wasn't taking steroids. I mean, what? Because he's Barry Bonds, no one's going to say that? I mean, obviously he did it. His trainer admitted to giving steroids to baseball players. He just doesn't want to say his name. You don't have to. It's clear just seeing his body." End quote. Bonds reacted to Wendell's comment on Wednesday afternoon.
If you got something to say it to my face. Don't talk through the media. Don't be a little and talk through the media. If you got something to say to me, you come to my face and say it. And then we'll handle it amongst ourselves. But don't talk through the media. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of these guys chirping through the media. If you got something to say to me, come to my face and say it, and we'll handle it. I'm not worried about him. I'm not worried about anyone. You know, I have a lot of respect for Turk Wendell. I have a lot of respect for every baseball player in this game. You know, just to disrespect other people like that or talk through the media, I think that's chicken shit. You know, you got something to say, you come to my face and say it, and then we'll deal with each other. But don't be a and go talk through the media like, you know, you're some tough guy.
On Wednesday, the Giants held their first full squad workout. Bonds once again found himself in the center of controversy. Even though he's only 2 home runs away from tying Willie Mays for 3rd on the all-time list, off-the-field issues continue to overshadow his on-the-field accomplishments. In Scottsdale, Arizona, Pedro Gomez, ESPN.
Pedro, you know Barry Bonds is far from alone when it comes to being accused of using performance-enhancing drugs. The Yankees' Gary Sheffield had already spoken about the subject a couple of times this month during informal workouts, saying that he has not used steroids. Well, New York Newsday reporter John Heyman took it upon himself to force the issue with Sheffield. Heyman joined Brian Kenny yesterday on the Hot List on ESPN News.
I gave him the steroid test. I went up to him and said, okay, I've got a lab, I've got a doctor, let's try to do it. So, you know, I gave him a day to think about it. The first day he acted like maybe he would do it. The second day, no chance. In fact, he was kind of testy when I went to his locker today. So I don't know whether he's got some advisor telling him. I mean, I assumed that he was going to pass. I mean, he had come off the Balco hearing, There's no reason for him to be taking steroids now. You know, and it looked like he was going to do it that first day. It really did. But, you know, I didn't have a doctor lined up at that minute. And I said, well, you know what, I'm going to give you a day to think about it. And today he wanted no part of it.
Well, Sheffield clearly has already contacted his local cable operator. He gets ESPN News. And upon hearing Heyman's comments, he contacted ESPN to give his side of the story and conversation. And he did just that today on the Early Sports Center with Dan Patrick.
Chef, how close were you to taking that drug test?
Well, like I said, you know, when he came up to my locker, actually it was the day before camp started, and I wasn't even supposed to be there that day. I just went in to put things in my locker, and he came up with this, you know, taking the testing, and I told him, let's go. And, you know, he kept repeating it, and I said, let's go. And I'm thinking, we're going to take a test. And, you know, he was beating around the bush and things like that, like, you know, he didn't have everything in order. So I said, what, you just running your mouth? I said, let's go. I said, I'll put you in my car and we can go. And, you know, that whole thing was turned the way he wanted to spin it. And the bottom line is he didn't have no resources or no doctor in place or nothing to that nature. He was just running his mouth.
Would you take a drug test?
I always said I would take a drug test. You know, it's 5 years ago. I remember, you know, like yesterday when I was outspoken about it and nobody wanted to listen. You know, I tried to get everybody tested then, you know, talk to the union and everything else. And now all of a sudden, you know, 5 years later, I'm in the middle of it.
But you know the Players Association won't let you take a test like this.
Well, at the time, you know, I didn't know. You know, that's why I was willing to take it. You know, I told him I'll go right over there right now. And that night, I get 3 phone calls from the Players Association telling me I can't take this test and not to talk to this guy.
But why don't you take it upon yourself? Because do you get the feeling that you're guilty until proven innocent by the media?
Well, we do have a union, and we have to go by the rules of the union. And the bottom line is that day when I didn't know, earlier in that day when I didn't know, he didn't have everything in order. And if he would have, we would have had this test and we wouldn't be having this conversation.
But don't you want to clear your name, to remove your name from some of these other guys? If you are clean, why don't you say to the Players Association, this is about me. Right. And if I can clear my name, let me do it.
Well, that's why I'm here on this show today. If you guys or whoever out there want to get with the union and you guys want to set up and we can do the test in front of anybody. You know, my thing is that I want to clear my name. I want my, whatever I did these 15 years of playing baseball, these numbers are legit and they always have been.
But even if you are clean, Gary, you do know if you connect the dots with you and your friendship with Bonds, Bonds' trainer indicted, the Balco hearings, do you understand why there would be suspicion attached to your name?
Well, of course. I mean, that's why I'm here today. You know, like I said, you know, I've been guilty by association my whole life, you know, with my uncle and now Barry Bonds and things like that. You know, I went out there to train with him, and the bottom line is, you know, I don't know the type of people that he hangs around, so that's not my responsibility. I put my trust in him. And the bottom line is that I know I'm not guilty of nothing, and if anybody want to test me on it, test me.
Yeah, but why don't you just say to Donald Fear right now, Donald, you're the head of the Players Association. I'm one of your marquee guys. Let me remove this cloud of controversy around me, and why can't I go take a drug test on my own? Bring in a couple of writers, make them take their drug test with you, and then make the results public.
Well, the thing is that everybody ran with the story and put their spin on it, what have you. The bottom line is, when I take this test, what I get out of it when I pass. You know, the thing is that you're going to just write a story, he passed the test.
Oh, Gary, you know it'd be bigger than that. It'd be bigger than that. If you took a drug test and made the writers, pick 2 writers and say, you take a drug test with me, and then we'll publish the results, and you know that people would stop asking you questions after that.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm on this show right now. You line it up, and I'll do it. You know, I'll get with the Players Association right now and do it. The bottom line. You line it up. Okay. Anybody can line it up. The Players Association, anybody. The bottom line is this. When this guy get on his show and says that he told me he's going to give me a day to think about it, why would I need a day to think about it when I was willing to do it?
All right.
That's a total lie.
Well, Peter Gammons is down there. If I have Peter Gammons come over and set this up, would you take a drug test?
I'll be more than willing. You call Players Association, Gene Orzer.
Well, what if they say no?
Set it up.
But, Chef, what if they say no?
I'm part of a union. I can't break the union. That's disrespecting all the other players. If I go and do this test, all of a sudden now it gives every writer and everybody else to test all the other players, and I don't want to be a part of that.
You look at the drug testing policy that Major League Baseball and the Players Association agreed upon, and you have to admit that it's pretty flimsy.
Oh, I'm the first to contest to that. And like I just told you, 5 years ago, I was outspoken about it on Brian Gumbel's show. And, you know, I tried to get it tested then because
millions of viewers. When they recognize. Gentlemen, I'm delighted to welcome William Hung. Give it up, brother! How are you, man?
Good.
Have a seat, Mr. Hung. Good to see you. Wow. Your life has completely changed, huh?
Yeah, I can't believe it.
Yeah. Neither can we. What's been the best part since you appeared on American Idol?
Well, I make a lot more friends, and finally I get to touch some more people's hearts.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's nice. What do they ask you about when they recognize you on campus and they walk up and they say, "Hey, William"? What do they want to know?
They want to know if I was on American Idol, and then also now it seems it's becoming very common that they want my autograph or take pictures of me.
Yeah, and that's fun. You like that?
Yeah, it is fun.
Right? And how about being on all these different TV shows? You couldn't turn on the television in this country without seeing a little William Hung.
They're great, actually. I mean, it's like each of those TV shows, each of the appearances, you know, whenever I get to perform, it's just taking a little step toward improving and becoming better.
Mm-hmm. And how about the girls? Have you noticed a big difference with the attention from the girls?
I noticed that I make a lot of friends in general, not just girls.
Not just girls, but friends in general.
But there's a lot of girls.
Yeah, all right. Lots of folks here have questions for you. Do you mind if I take some audience questions?
No
problem at all, right? Okay. Who is? Raise your hand if you have a question for William Hung. Yes, young lady over here. Go ahead.
Can I call you Will?
No, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Hi, Will.
Hi.
I heard that you were offered a record deal. Is it true?
Yes, it is.
Oh.
And what did you decide to do? Did you take that?
I'm still looking over the small details.
Oh, yes. So, what, you have an agent now?
I'm getting somebody to work on it. My dad, and then agents. I mean, I'm trying to work on it.
It's Team Hung already.
Yeah, contracts are very serious deals.
Yes.
And so they require attention.
That's true. Thank you for the question. We appreciate it. Who else over here? I saw. Yes, ma'am. What's your name?
Jessica.
Jessica William Hung. Go ahead.
Hi, William.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi. Are your fans mainly women?
There's a lot of more women than guys, unfortunately, to say. I mean, I get recognized either by women and men equally, so it seems to me, in my campus. So it's hard to say.
Oh, okay.
All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead. What's your name?
I'm Greg.
You're Greg?
Yeah.
Go ahead. You have a question for William?
I'm an engineering student, too. What kind of engineering are you going into, and what are you planning to do with it?
I'm interested in civil engineering. And if singing doesn't work out for me and turns into only a hobby, then I really look forward to research on the LA air pollution right now.
That's good. That's a good thing. Are you good at the civil engineering?
I'm struggling as well with civil engineering. I'm struggling with pretty much most of the things I do in my life. But no, you got. What you need to understand, all you perhaps to understand is that everybody goes through struggles to succeed. You don't.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
You don't succeed right. Most people don't just succeed right out of the block.
It doesn't just happen right away, and it builds character along the way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right. One more question. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Do you have a girlfriend?
No, I don't.
Would you like one tonight?
Whoa, that's a bit too daring there.
I tell you what, will you sing for us in a second?
Yeah.
All right, you guys are in for something. William Hung on the stage in just a second, but we promised you unseen footage, and we are making no exception here with Mr. Hung. Take a look at this clip from the audition process. It happened on stage. We'll be right back.
A paradise untouched by man. In this world blessed with love. A simple life, they live in peace. Softly tread the sand below your feet now. Two worlds, one family.
KTVU's John Fowler uncovers the symptoms, who's most at risk, and what you should know. Tonight on the 10 o'clock news.
Kelso and Brooke's relationship is heading to the next level, but will a tragic mistake...
Did you burn down the police academy?
No, I did not! I accidentally